Welcome to Journeys of Empowerment. I'm your host, Michiel Sujit Rijt. This podcast brings you deep, heartfelt conversations with changemakers, thought leaders, and pioneers of empowerment, uncovering insights and strategies that fuel personal and collective transformation. I finally had the pleasure of speaking with Jeena Earthiva, artist, entrepreneur, former Bollywood singer and founder of the Conscious Music Code. Jeena's journey from losing her voice to reclaiming her truth reminds us that healing and creativity often rise from our deepest struggles. We explore music as medicine, the power of emotional fitness, and how personal crisis can become a calling. Jeena's vision from bringing conscious music into schools and workplaces invite us all to reconnect, rewire, and remember who we are beyond what we have endured. If you're ready to hear a story that turns silence into a song and pain into purpose, you won't want to miss this conversation. Before we dive in, a quick shout out to our sponsor Neotopia, helping leaders turn behavior change into lasting impact. Leading a team through change isn't easy. Resistance, disengagement, old habits, they are more common than you might think. But real change doesn't happen by chance. It takes a proven approach, and that's exactly what Neotopia offers. It all starts with the awareness session, a powerful workshop where you discover why behavior change fails and how to fix it. A structured approach to making change stick, and how to lead teams who take ownership, not just follow orders. Curious to experience it yourself? Visit neotopia.nl to learn more. And now over to our conversation.
So you're listening to me, Jeena and Michiel, at Journeys of Empowerment. And this is a musical journey for your mind. Those of you who are at home, feel free to close your eyes and just listen to the sound. Travel with the sounds, because your mind can go wherever you want it to go. And as you direct your awareness following this sound, imagine that you reach a beautiful, relaxing spot somewhere in nature. And notice the feeling you hold. The feeling you hold in your body. The feelings that are melting away, and the feelings that are coming into play with the sound in this moment. Hold on to those feelings and ask yourself one question. Who or what inspires you to feel absolutely in power? Who or what inspires you to feel empowered enough to go and be the limitless, infinite version of yourself that you were meant to be? And with that question and answer in your heart, I'm going to slowly fade the music as you keep the feeling loud and clear in your heart.
Wow, Jeena. Thank you very much. This is an incredible opening for the podcast Journeys of Empowerment. Mm-hmm. And it made me right away curious, what would be the answer to the question you just asked to our listeners? What would be your answer yourself? And welcome, sorry. I'm a little bit I'm a little bit
in the zone.
In the zone, yeah, that's
which is the perfect way to welcome me.
Yeah, beautiful.
There are two answers. One is myself, because when I think of myself and my journey so far, there's a part of me that wants to feel proud of that. So if I can see that I came from there to here, that means I can be the one inspiring my own self to move further. That's one. And this is a belief system I didn't have originally, because I thought I have to keep doing something to be great, or I have to keep pushing to become something greater. But I think we already are the people that we can inspire ourselves with. That's one part. And the person who taught me to think like this is my mentor, Dr. Daisaku Ikeda. He's changed my life completely. 15 years back, I encountered his philosophy and his guidances. And he reminded me that we are like the lotus that blooms in the muddy water. And when you are in the dirt, that is precisely the perfect moment to reveal your beauty. You don't go away from the dirt, you use the dirt as your own nutrition. And that empowers you to become the lotus. So this way of thinking is why I can believe that I myself am an inspiration to myself.
Yeah, nah. Who wouldn't be if that's a firm belief, if that's something you firmly came to believe, because it wasn't it wasn't from the initial start
Not
of
at
your
all.
life, right?
Not
And
at all.
but so the importance of a role model is, of course, also a
Absolutely.
mentor, a role model.
Absolutely.
And beautiful. Thank you very much for sharing, and thank you very much for being here. And before we jump in right away into the depth of your whole journey, in this, what are you doing right now with your beautiful company, and what are you aiming for?
Yes. So first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to Journeys of Empowerment. I love the person that you are, but also love the name of the podcast you've started, because as you heard me, like those are my beliefs. So it sits perfectly. And about my work right now, recently, or let's say 2023, end of 2023, I moved to Belgium from India, from Mumbai, which is a city you are connected to as well. That's a whole other podcast, right?
That's a whole other podcast, right? Oh.
But anyway, I set up my company there in Mumbai, and then I moved to Europe, to Belgium. And this was again possible because I was believing in myself and my global mission. And I met people on LinkedIn. I think I came across you on LinkedIn, even when I was in Mumbai.
Yeah.
And one of those people is my partner, Jim, and we started working together, and now I'm here working together with him. And so my life journey has taken a twist in a good way. And now what I'm doing with Conscious Music Code is a few things. First of all, working on creating more and more musical mind journeys that inspire people to go back into their own power and to snap out of whatever sadness, frustration, or negative feelings that they have, and be empowered to do so wherever they are, whether it's at work or at home or wherever. So because of that mission, I keep developing musical mind hacks, which people can always check out on consciousmusiccode.com. But we also develop these multi-sensory kits that can be used with music and aroma and these mind hacks, all in 5 to 6 minutes and at the workplace. So these are things that are constantly being created. And so as we sell, we keep creating more stuff. So that's one part. And the other thing is I like to be live on stage because I have this whole artistic background. And when I say live on stage, I like to be there and keep motivating people using music, motivating, inspiring people, but most importantly, reminding them that wherever they are sitting might be lower physically. When I'm on stage, I'm higher, right, physically. But my goal is to erase the difference of height between the stage and the audience. That means to tell them that you are on your own stage. So if I can get my message out there loud and clear and keep doing my, multisensory experiences at bigger stages, then maybe at some point, everyone will start to feel my message and feel like they are already on the highest stage that they need to be. So
Wow.
that's the next part.
Wow. And the name, what is the code meaning in the word of the brand name?
Yeah. So there was this time, like I was in Bollywood and I was singing and performing songs which weren't very conscious. And what I mean by that is these are songs, either very famous songs, are very popular. And these are songs where you either, objectify a woman. And in India, we call that item songs. Basically, you as a woman are the item. And we're going to itemize you. And these songs come out in big films. And this is like a very hot and sexy woman dancing and everybody's ogling at her. And it's always the best song in the movie because that's the song that sells the movie, even though it has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. They will just shoot it in some bar or something.
Yeah, but just a second, just itemizing.
Yes,
I hate that word.
Yes, so in India, if you just Google...
Sorry, I let it go, but I'm just being honest.
Absolutely.
Itemizing.
You should hate it. If you don't hate it, I'm not your friend anymore.
Oh, that went really fast.
No, but that's the truth.
Itemizing.
So this is the problem. And if you Google this, you will see. If you type the word item songs, you will find it all over Bollywood. That is not to say that Bollywood only has this kind of bad things. Bollywood has a lot of beautiful elements, which sadly don't get enough money and push and powerful people behind. So let's say the movie is really great, but the song that sells the movie or gets all the eyeballs is this. And so the producers want to always have an item song in a movie like this. Now, in the recent movies, I see a lot of change in Bollywood. There's been a lot of transformation in this, but this is one type of song. Or let's say love songs is what we see not just in Bollywood, all over the world. When you write lyrics like, oh, I cannot live without you, my entire existence is defined by you, or like something like that, or I will die without you. These kind of songs which sound very romantic. When you keep listening to them, as your musical diet becomes full of such songs, you start to embed this belief that you are nothing without the other person, which I'm sure is not the meaning of love. It's
a sort of programming, right?
It's a programming, and it's disempowering.
Neural pathways creating,
exactly.
Right?
And with music, you touch a deeper level because you're bypassing all the conscious stuff and you're going straight into your emotional level. So you program faster with music. That means we are unconsciously listening to music or things that are not good for us and that are training us on negative beliefs, you see? And in my TED Talk, I spoke about musical diet because just like you have a food diet. Yeah. If your musical diet consists of songs like this, I mean, you can listen to them. There's nothing wrong with them if you just listen to them once in a while. But if that becomes the kind of music you start to like all the time, and I was one of them. I loved dark music. I loved music about, fantasizing dark emotions and, the whole rock and roll phase and all of that. And then I came to this realization that we've got to be conscious about our music choices because music is programming us. And that's why conscious music...
Code.
Yeah, and then the code is the programming part.
Yeah.
Because I have a background in computer science, so I'm very much into coding and stuff. But the thing is, our emotions also are coded, right? So if we want to decode or uncode the way things are working and we want to recode it in a right way, one smart way would be to stop listening to music that is not good for us, But there's no one who's talking so much about it because we're just unconsciously going with the flow and putting in whatever is coming in.
And so we're unconsciously getting coded.
Absolutely.
And layer above layer and layer and layer. And it's creating neural pathways. You don't even see it. You're unconscious.
Yeah.
Yet it programs you. And the word itemizing, I never heard of it, and I never will forget it anymore.
Yes.
So thank you for that. It's never getting out of my system anymore.
And now the youth are talking about it in India because the youth in India they're awakening to it, and all this patriarchal. I don't know where it really comes from because India was the land of empowerment. originally, and then it twisted into becoming something else, and it's not nice, and we've got to fight against it. And so that's why I said, if you like the term, then I'm not your friend.
No, of course I can imagine. No,
yeah.
I find it difficult to grasp the whole meaning around it, but that's for another part of our conversation later on. Hey, and I think it's very interesting to start with who you are, because we tend to say what we do, and of course I ask, of course, also, what are you doing now? But Jeena, who are you? And I love your name, by the way, Jeena Earthiva. And what's the meaning about name, and who are you?
Right. Love that question, because whatever we do is just a reflection of who we are, right? Jeena was my nickname always since I was a kid. But my legal name on my passport is Sukanya Ghosh, and that's the name I use for my Bollywood life as well, Sukanya Ghosh. It means good girl. Sukanya is a good girl. But Jeena was always my nickname. So in Bengal, where I grew up in Calcutta, most families, when they have a kid, they give them a small name like this, which is like for only the family, the cousins, and only the close people know that name. So Jeena was that. But Jeena also means to live. And so when I went through a deep identity crisis in the middle of my Bollywood career, we'll talk about that in a bit, but during that time I realized that me as a singer had become like this big thing in my head, like this is my identity, I, Sukanya, the singer. But when that was taken away, what is there? Then you feel like this big void, and that shouldn't be the case. Your worth, the worth of your life should always be infinite, regardless of what you do and where you come from, blah, blah, blah. So Jeena was a very beautiful word for me to use to reinvent myself, because it means to live, really live your life as you are. But then the second word, Earthiva, this word was something I coined. And I gave myself this surname because I feel like when we give ourselves a name, we are giving ourselves a new identity. And there we are in full control of who we are, and we choose. And Earthiva it comes from the word earth. So that means a few things. Obviously, we are all born from the earth. We will go back to the earth. So it reminds you of, from nothing comes everything, and from everything comes nothing. And so that this journey in between, when you are on earth, you want to be able to do something that makes this earth a better place. And Eva, the word Eva, actually means blessing, if I'm not wrong, from the Greek, Italian, Latin terms. So I want to be a blessing on earth, not the opposite. I know we don't want to be a problem. And I want to, feel like I emerge from the earth joyfully and want to go back joyfully while having done something that changes the earth in a better direction. So that's Jeena Earthiva. And also, I'm a global citizen. I don't associate too much with, I'm this or I'm that, I'm brown or I'm Indian or I'm white or I'm blah, blah. I don't associate with so much with all of this. I associate with humanity and the whole world. So
associate with humanity and the whole. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. A beautiful name and really beautiful meaning behind it. Of course, how could it be differently? Huh? And you mentioned dark period. So let's start with where you're originally from. I heard Calcutta, and then but also Mumbai. So share us a little bit your journey from the start.
Yeah. So I was born in Calcutta, which is in the east of India. And I did my schooling in college there and everything. And then I was in my master's course, master's in computer science. During this period, I had a choice whether to go into the typical IT job, which was the logical move, or music. But I was already getting some musical offers, and I somehow had the courage and the wisdom to not go down the IT route, because I knew I would be very frustrated with that. So I took on the music offers that kept coming, didn't take the IT job, and just went on with whatever was going to happen. And within a few years, I felt like, okay, I think I finished my master's in 2011, and in 2 years' time, I knew I needed to move to Mumbai because, things were growing. And that's what you do. If you come from some other place, if you're an artist in India and you're doing well, you go to Mumbai, Everybody does that. And it's like, okay, now you aim for Bollywood, blah, blah, blah. And I did the same. And when I was in Mumbai, so from 2013, I was in Mumbai.
Yes.
That is the very year I thought everything's going to be great, and I was already getting Mumbai Bollywood offers, even sitting at home without having to struggle. So I was on cloud 9, like, oh, this is perfect. People come here to struggle. Look at me. I'm getting these offers without doing anything. And then my great arrogance completely, I wasn't arrogant, but you know what I mean? Like, I was happy with my move. But like, life slaps you to show you that this ego identity that you've built for yourself can just crumble within a few seconds, So that's what happened when I lost my voice. And what I mean by that is I suddenly couldn't speak properly. Like, I could speak, but I sounded like this was my voice.
Oh, wow.
And this is kind of like the voice you have when you have a throat
Sore
infection.
Throat?
Yeah. So I thought that's what it was, like some kind of throat infection or whatever. So I tried home remedies, went to the doctors. When the home remedies didn't work, and the doctors, they couldn't understand the problem, but they were like, oh, just try this antibiotics. Yeah, okay, I did that. And then that didn't work, and this went on and on and on. And meanwhile, I'm getting all those offers and having to lie to them because you don't want to tell them you have a voice problem as a singer, No. So I made up some lies, blah, blah, blah. But after a while, I realized, okay, this is not going away. And I had to start telling people, okay, I do have a problem. And so all the offers in front of my eyes, they melted away. And I just didn't know who I was anymore. When I couldn't sing, I couldn't tolerate my own voice. So if I had to say something, I would write it on a piece of paper. And hearing music would make me cry because I had the wrong association with music now, And so for 3 years, this whole thing happened. And looking back, I think it was the best thing ever, because that is the moment when I began my journey of empowerment, because you don't know how strong you are unless you're hit, and you have to redefine your identity. You have to lose your identity to really find it,
But before we go further, one question. It was a period of 3 years, right?
3 years, yeah.
How did you cope?
So the first step was I didn't cope. I just started, getting these terrible anxiety attacks, terrible feeling of, sinking in the void. So depression, anxiety, insomnia. I wasn't able to sleep, couldn't keep food down, And my hair started falling. I was like this zombie, I was just, moving around. And I was getting into a very, very dark place in my mind, and even contemplating, why am I living, blah, 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 and just couldn't find my answers. But I was already introduced to my mentor's teachings in 2010. So this was already a period when I was aware of the Buddhist teachings of the Lotus Sutra and all of that, like I told you in the beginning. But I realized at that time that when you know something theoretically, it's great, but that has no connection with your real experience unless you put that theoretical, whatever you know, whatever you think you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know. It's just pieces of information that...
This is interesting. So this is going to be interesting. Exactly today, it was scheduled tomorrow. They are removing the whole road in front of my house in the home studio. So this is for us the ultimate test.
Absolutely,
are
dirt.
We able to have this conversation
undisturbed?
And undisturbed. So Please continue.
But this is perfect for our theme. Like if we take the lotus theme, like the dirt, this is the dirt, the sonic dirt for our audience. If you hear some noise,
well, we better prove ourselves that we are up for the test, right? And that we will succeed.
Okay. So anyway, we'll tune that out mentally. The noise. So I realized that my great information knowledge was not really knowledge, it was just information. And the concepts, however beautiful, were not really embedded in my system. Because for me, I was trying to get rid of the dirt. I was trying to get rid of the problem quickly, and if you look at it, whatever your spiritual background is, if you think it's a karmic problem, you want to get rid of this karmic problem quickly. But my leaders at the time, my Buddhist leaders, they kept coming home and encouraging me to realize that this so-called karmic problem, suffering, blah, 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 obstacle is exactly what I need. And it was very annoying advice in the beginning.
I can imagine, because what do you mean?
What the hell, And this woman who really supported me, my God, she's like, at that moment, she was my guardian angel. So she said, you know what? You're not even going to, so we do this chanting. Right? You're not going to chant about yourself. You're going to start chanting for other people who have voice issues. Mm-hmm. I said, what? She said, yeah, because anyway, when you're chanting about yourself, you're just stressing about the problem. You're not actually chanting for the solution. You are thinking you're chanting for the solution, but you're only repeating the problem. And then you're empowering the problem, not your life. So when you send out the right energies for others, I'm like, but I don't know anybody with a voice problem. But this is how she kept, barging into my house with such advice.
Planting a seed, obviously.
Planting a seed. But however annoying it was, I followed that process, even though mechanically. And I started praying to find people who I could inspire using this problem. And I said, look, I can inspire people when I get back my voice and tell my story. She's like, no, that's not how it works. No. You have to sit in the dirt. You don't have to avoid the dirt. So that means while you have this issue, you have to find a way to encourage people. I'm like, what? This is like the upside down.
Oh, wow.
But this is the kind of strict things that worked, because I tried to go for therapy and other things. And this is not to tell people don't go for therapy, please go. But for me, it just didn't work. It made me worse, because we were repeating my life story and the problem and repeating the problem and not going for the solution.
Ripping off the Band-Aid every time that you go there. And it's not solving anything. It was not
empowering me, No. And this is why I love the name of your podcast. It's empowering, because people have the power. We have to believe that they have the power. And this leader, on the other hand, she was doing everything that they probably therapists would say no to. She was like, come on, we start doing this in the morning at 6 o'clock. I said, but I didn't even sleep. She said, this is how we'll train your body clock. So she was like, and I just wanted to get rid of her at that moment. But I knew somewhere in my heart that she had the right intention. And she didn't care about being liked. That's another thing.
That's an interesting one.
She didn't care if I liked her. And this is where, when we want to change someone's life or inspire someone, I feel we have to remove the equation about how great they think we are. Or if you're truly great, it'll prove itself over time, So anyway, this process continued of fighting. But when I started chanting like this, to believe that I can encourage people just as I am with my voice issues, I started encountering people who actually had voice issues. I don't know how they came into my life. On the road, somebody recommended somebody, like some theater actor, some voice dubbing artist. And Mumbai is full of such people. And somehow something I said to them worked, and they were able to take the right actions, and their problems were solving, and I was still in the same, rut. But because of that prayer, I think I started to rewire my brain unknowingly to focus on this problem as itself, as if it is itself a solution. It's weird, but Solution to what? God knows. But at the moment, I was like, this is the good thing for me. This is a good thing for me. And this is the power of rewiring your brain. When you do that, you start to see, how, okay, if it's a good thing for me, then how is it a good thing for me? Then that becomes the next question. And then I came across a line by my mentor. He said, we've got to do everything we can to transform the life state of humankind. And that's what stuck out to me.
To transform the life
state of humankind. So life state means inner life, not the...
No.
So not give more money to poor people or make more homes for homeless. Okay, that's great, but that's not changing the life state.
No.
So I was like very annoyed with that now again, because I'm like, yeah, I want to do that, but if you take away my voice, how the hell am I going to do that? It's like this advice or this guidance was very annoying. Again, I wanted to forget it because my own life state is horrible and you want me to help someone else's life state. So my own life state is horrible and I want to change the life state of humankind. That doesn't happen, right? You have to first be okay yourself. However, because it was a line by my mentor, and again, however annoying it was, I mechanically started chanting with that line. And that's all I used to do. I used to wake up, cry, chant, cry, go to bed, cry. This is what my life. I could not eat food. I could just, I don't know how I survived that period, honestly. I just was such a negative zombie type person. But somehow something kept me going with this kind of mechanical chanting that I was doing with my friend's advice and this line. I didn't know where it was taking me. I just went with it. But then this idea came that why not try to compose and produce music? I have a laptop, I have my MIDI keyboard, I know how to play a piano, but I don't know how to produce music. It's a whole other field of education and things like that. But I said, okay, let's just try, And as I started experimenting with the sounds, this is when the magic happened. I realized that this would be somehow my way to change the life state of humankind someday. And I didn't know how it would actually shape, but as I went through the sounds, I realized every sound was taking my mind on a journey. That's why I said in the beginning, sounds take us somewhere. And you can even guide where it can go. So you can literally manipulate your brain in a correct way, a good way, because the brain is anyway manipulating us, right? It's always telling us
who's manipulating who.
Exactly. So if you get back in power and tell your mind, okay, your default is to go into this kind of sound of self-talk, which is like, I am good for nothing because I lost my voice and therefore I cannot do anything with my life. I'm basically useless.
The inner critic.
So instead of listening to those sounds, you can actually guide your mind with sounds to say sounds like, thoughts like, because thought is a sound. So you say things like, this losing my voice is exactly how I'm going to help people. And so you can change it without forcing positive thinking, because forcing positive thinking doesn't work. You've got to go on this experiential journey where your body is involved. Your nervous system has to relax into it and naturally feel positive.
And was that the positively reinforcing feeling that you thought and felt, not thought, but
felt.
you were
felt is the right word.
Something, right?
Yes,
you felt something like which wasn't clear at that moment.
Not at all, not
but
clear.
But you felt some transformation
happening
inside you, and that's the moment you got a little bit slightly convinced more and more and more.
Yes. And you know what was the exact feeling?
No.
The feeling was with the sounds and the loop. So I was looping these sounds because I didn't know how to produce properly full tracks at the time. So I was looping different sounds, and I saw that with every loop, imagine a spiral, but the spiral is going up. So in a very common word people use nowadays, I'm spiraling down or I'm spiraling. They use the word spiral to mean something negative,
yes.
right?
Spiraling down. I never heard spiraling up.
Yeah, why not? But
I don't know.
Exactly. So I felt like the sound loops, were helping me spiral up, up, up. And this up means the problem, whatever the problem was in my life at the time, losing my voice and all of that, remained where it was. That couldn't spiral up. Only I spiraled up. So I am on a higher level. The problem remains as it is. It's not that the problem is gone, because my voice was still horrible. And I felt my consciousness picking itself up and going up. And when you are on a higher platform, your view is different, right?
Yes.
And this is what Sensei Ikeda, he meant by transforming the life state. That means you are elevating the consciousness of your life. And that means that your problems might still be the same, but the way you view them completely changes, because now you are in power, you're higher, and you're above all of the shit.
And when you say change, is it about what is specifically the change that you see the adversity where you go through, for instance?
Correct.
As a learning opportunity? Or
absolutely.
Experience it as a learning opportunity.
And even be grateful for it.
Oh, wow.
Like, grateful for the suffering.
I'm happy that I lost my voice.
Exactly.
No.
Today I can say that. But
Yeah, really?
those
No,
days,
no.
Yeah, I can. I absolutely am happy, because at those times, no. Of course, no. Because I was in such a pain. But I started to almost get to a point that I know this has a reason. This has a purpose. And the purpose is greatness. It's bringing my life to a state where I can fulfill my mission of inspiring people. This whole shift, I cannot explain it in words or even in thoughts. I think when you hear my music and all my journeys, you will experience that fight, that inner fight against your own darkness, which is constantly pulling you down, versus your own higher states, which is constantly pulling you up. It's a choice, but it's a hard fight. It's bigger than all the wars the world can have. If people can actually go through this war, then we would not have any wars.
No.
Exactly,
and
right?
Jeena, and this makes me curious, because there's so much wisdom and so much deepness in what you just shared with us. So thank you. Mm-hmm. First of all, thank you for sharing. And on the other hand, if you look back to the starting point, losing your voice, with all the knowledge of now and all the wisdom, it's not about the knowledge, it's about wisdom.
It's wisdom, yeah.
It's about the wisdom you feel inside of you. What would you have advised at the start of the dark period of the journey?
Exactly.
With all the wisdom you have now?
Like when I look back, I would say exactly what my leader told me. Like, use this as the thing that will help you encourage people. And so it is good that I had someone telling me that, because I would say the same to someone who's going through a very tragic situation. Instead of saying, oh, poor you, such a bad thing happened, I feel so bad for you. I mean, I know this is very nice and cushiony and soft, and it makes the person feel very nice.
It doesn't necessarily help you, right?
It absolutely. It's a repetition of the problem statement. It's not empowering. Okay, of course you cannot, say it in a way that is too harsh. There is you have to cushion it, the advice. But the true advice is use exactly whatever happened to you. Use it, not try to overcome, because I was trying to get rid of this suffering. So my leaders advised me to embrace it, to absolutely be in the midst of it and see what it has to teach me, and then how that knowledge can teach others something or encourage others. And by the way, to finish that cycle, this process, whatever I told you, was all in my mind and my body, in my experiences with the music, blah blah blah. And after 3 years of experimenting with music, because I didn't even have knowledge on how to produce music. I just tried like a kid, pressing this button and pressing that, asking Google 10,000 questions, going on YouTube, watching video. But at the end of 3 years, I saw my voice coming back slowly. My voice started clearing up, almost like a miraculous thing. But then now I know nothing is a miracle. It's just, my throat chakra was blocked, which means my self-expression was blocked. This is the reason why I lost my voice. I was suppressing my true feelings while I was doing all the jumping around in my Bollywood performance career. The money was good, the traveling was good, everything was good. Superficially, I was very happy. But some layers inside me, that's what I said in the beginning, like I wasn't okay with certain kinds of music. I was performing it because, that's what makes the money. And I looked very confident and happy. And it's not just about music. There are certain other things that I was suppressing, my pain at
unconsciously?
Unconsciously,
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely unconsciously. And my pain at injustice of any kind, my pain at I just put it all down because to do what I was doing, you need to just be happy and cute and funny.
It's part of the glossy life.
Yeah,
so
the glossy life.
yeah,
Just push aside everything. And when you do that, your real artist or the real version of you gets clogged, in your body. And some people might get rashes. I just lost my voice because my voice is a very important tool to express ourselves, right? So if you are blocking your self-expression, what will get blocked? The thing you use for expression. So your voice got blocked. That's what happened. Of course, later on, I went to the doctors when I was feeling very much okay. I said, can you check, like you guys did 3 endoscopies. Can you check what is the problem and what was the problem? What is the situation now? Because am I, hallucinating this? Did I hallucinate the problem? They said, no, when we were doing your endoscopies, your vocal cords were not closing. You know how the strings, they're supposed to close. They were closing only a little bit. This is why I could not make any higher sounds. But they said now it's closing perfectly. And they till date don't know why it was so earlier and why it... So my understanding is medical science is very good to measure and see where you're at. It's very good because then you can check. But really when you want to change something, your body has to choose to do it. And your body will choose to do it when your mind chooses to do the change. So I got back my voice. I can sing now. I can do whatever now.
Wow, this is quite a journey, right?
Yeah.
If you look back at that darkest period in your life, how does it make you feel right now? If you really tap into that
darkness, right?
Yeah.
It when I tap into it, there's 2 things. One is I remember clearly in my body, can immediately feel the fear, the anger, the feeling of uncertainty and feeling like, what has my life come to? And the feeling of, who the hell am I?
Yeah, the identity quest.
Because
right?
all of the rest of the problems were okay, but the real issue was, who am I? And that void, really when I say dark, my mind was feeling, it felt like darkness. But I also do remember, when you asked me to tap into it, that inner fight. Like while I was in that state, there was this resistance from my higher or better version, like this resistance of, no, you're not going to give in. No, you're not going to give in. No matter how real this seems, this is just a drama. The real version of you is the version that's still alive with full voice, full whatever you need. So that I'm getting goosebumps. I do feel that inner fight. And it costed a lot of energy, because no one sees it outside. And even when I was in that state, some people outside, they were like, oh, you're doing pretty well. But they didn't, I was very good at covering up because the artist on stage knows how to do makeup, so I did emotional makeup.
And masking.
To look good. But it was horrible.
Exhausting.
Yeah, very exhausting. But I realized that any growth happens in an exhausting way because growth means resistance to what is easy, right? When you want to grow muscles, are you going to grow muscles by just sitting here? You have to exercise and push the muscle almost till it breaks. It won't break, but when you push it, then it starts growing in a certain way. So there is this, and then there's also the value in surrender and letting it be. So that's for me, it's masculine and feminine. So there is this intense fight where you push against all these temporary realities, this drama of your mind and your body, even to make you believe that you cannot fulfill your mission. And then there is the other part, which is where you trust completely, and believe that you don't need to push anything because you are it. You are limitless. So that nice balance between surrendering and pushing. And I feel it again in my body.
So from being a Bollywood star to a artist entrepreneur, where does the creativity come from? How easy is that flowing to you? How does it work?
Yeah, good question. I love that because I think creativity for me has been a matter of allowing. Allowing. Because imagine there is a channel or some kind of a pipe, right? And water's flowing, but there's rust inside the pipe. So the water can flow from wherever it is coming, the source. But the pipe is getting rusted, so it's not allowing the water to flow. So I think my understanding now is that every person in this world has creative potential. They don't have to sing on stage or dance on stage to be creative. Like you can be creative about even the way you tie your shoelaces. Like you can be creative about any damn thing. You can be creative about how you start your business, or even an accountant can be creative about how he maintains his Excel sheets. Like, so first of all, let's forget this idea that creativity belongs to the artists. No. Creativity belongs to everyone. The only question is, how much are we polishing that pipe, that channel inside us, so that there's no rust, because it's always flowing. All we have to do is allow. So that means when I'm having a creative block, which I was telling you about a few days back, and I had to fly somewhere and be with myself to allow again, I asked myself, so I know this concept that it's all about allowing. So why am I not able to allow? And I had to ask, what is stopping it? What is the rust inside that inner, channel? And the rust is simply this: fear, like fear of not mattering, not being valued, your art not being important enough to be seen or heard or making any impact. Fear is big. Also things like, do I still have the skill to do certain things? Like all of these things, the fear, the doubt, all of these are lies manufactured by your mind. And I know this. I keep training people with this, And when you yourself have to do this, it's really funny. Like I was even laughing at myself, like really. But it's a constant process of polishing. And for a while, I was so heavily invested in the business process that I let my creative side, I know I'm creative, I'll come back to it later. And that's a mistake, because creativity requires effort and polishing. You have to keep polishing that pipe. Otherwise, it's going to get rusted or some other things will happen. And so that means you shouldn't take it for granted. So you have to keep polishing your creative potential.
Two important, kind of concepts or things you mentioned is allowing.
Yes.
But also not taking things for granted.
You have to keep at it.
We have to nourish it. We have to feed it. We have to nurture it.
Absolutely.
We have to allow ourselves, but also create the proper space or time or both
100%.
to let it
happen.
Come to you.
Absolutely. And I realized I gave myself a lot of excuses. Oh, because of this, I couldn't do this. Or because of all
What
this.
was your biggest excuse?
The biggest excuse is, I need to make social posts, or I need to send emails, or when I get a free moment, then I'll be creative. This is completely stupid.
It's if then. It's if then.
What is this? This is really bad. And I keep telling everyone in my life, don't have this if then philosophy. And then I'm doing it myself. And that actually is good, because that keeps you humble. And that makes you realize that you're not God. Just because you're teaching something to people doesn't mean you are perfect at it. We have to keep practicing and polishing ourselves as we help others as well. So now that this happened with me, I have made a determination and clear promise to myself that I'm going to, like you said, nurture my creative potential, even if that means 5 minutes a day. And it's possible in 5 minutes a day. In fact, I created a whole multi-sensory kit on creativity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I when I had created it, I had done it for people who are so busy that they don't get to allow their creative potential. And this reminded me that why am I not using my own kit? I created it for people and for myself. So now I'm like, okay, either I'm going to use that kit, or I'm going to take a 5-minute walk, or I'm going to do something, write some poetry, looking at the sunset, whatever. Like, it doesn't take a lot to keep your creative potential alive. You just have to decide to do it and not make excuses.
Perfectly clear. And you went for a trip to...
I went to Sicily.
Oh, beautiful.
I went to Palermo, and I didn't know it would be so amazing. I had a feeling and a calling that I need to be there. This is also funny. I booked my flight there. I had an option between Palermo and Athens, and I chose Palermo. I don't know why. Something said that I had to be there. And I went there. And you won't believe this, Mikhail. I came across such sweet people on the road and shops. And one lady, she said, "Oh, you're an artist. We have this program here. It's all in Sicilian. But would you like to come and share something or sing a song here?" And I said, "Yeah." And I got to perform one of Rumi's poems in Farsi. And Lalon Fokir, who's another very famous person from that era, and I sang in Bengali and Farsi, a composition of mine, which I hadn't sung for a long time. And I sang it in front of people who don't know either Farsi or Bengali. It's not even English. And I got to experience the Sicilian, warmth. And I was like, wow, this is the cultural exchange that is going to feed my creativity. And that's why you have to follow your intuition. Creativity and intuition work absolutely hand in hand. So when I felt the calling to book my flight to Palermo and not some other city, I think it was the right decision to just follow the call and not question it or logically try to analyze it.
No, and allowing yourself to book
allowing.
And in hindsight, this is because you almost reached a block, creativity
Absolutely.
block.
No,
and how can we prevent?
I didn't even realize I was at a block. I only thought, I think it'll be easier if I take off somewhere and then I can only focus on my music without having to check emails. So I mentally just made a plan. I realized how blocked I was when I reached there, because my plan was, day 1, I'm going to look around. Day 2, I will take it slow. And from day 3, I'm going to start creating music. I'm just going to flow with it. You know what happened? When I reached, day 1, day 2 happened. Day 3, when I planned to start my music, nothing came. I just felt like, was I ever a musician? That's when I realized I was blocked. Because this is what is happening to people. We don't even know how much of a block it is unless we test it. And then I went through, it was not nice at all. It was again that inner fight of doubting, no. And nothing was coming. I was forcing the music out of me, and it was not nice. And it took me almost 4 or 5 days of just surrendering and allowing. That's why I said allowing my emotions. And finally the breakthrough was, there was a moment where I was just staring at my music software and just sitting there feeling all of these emotions. Don't even know what emotions exactly, but then there was a moment when these tears started flowing. I didn't even realize I was crying, but it was flowing, and then I had this huge emotional outburst with my own self and my computer. My computer sees everything. And then that outburst, after that, I was like, so many words came, the right chords I needed, the right sounds. It's like I felt the whole universe was backing me, for the courage I showed to allow my emotions. So I now connect courage with creativity, because if you're not courageous enough to allow the emotions, your creativity is not going to drop from heaven. It's going to come from you.
From inside.
And then the next few days I was even making tunes in my sleep. I don't know where all this was coming from, but it was, but the main truth is that, one, we have to polish our creative potential, small things every day. Second, have the courage for your emotions. Sit with your emotions. Let it flow. What is the worst that will happen? You'll feel depressed. Okay, we'll come out on the other side feeling happier. But avoiding that is not taking us anywhere.
Why are we so afraid?
I made a video on this later on after this situation. I went to the garden outside and I was like, I want to say something. I don't know what I want to say. And then I switched on the camera and I started saying exactly this, that people are most afraid of one thing, and that is their own emotion. Like, there's nothing we are more afraid of than our own emotions.
It's the root cause for addiction and everything. Right?
So let's say in my life I was scared that I would never get back my voice. That's not true. I was actually scared of the feeling of never getting back my voice.
And the feeling of not getting your acknowledgement about your identity?
Exactly. So that means I'm not actually scared about my voice. I'm actually scared of the feeling associated with whatever happens.
And what people think about you.
Yes.
Instead of...
Or even what I will think about myself.
Yeah.
So actually, if you strip away all the unnecessary drama of the mind and see what we are really afraid of. Today, okay, if I ask myself, what are my fears today? We all have fears, some fears here and there.
Of course.
Some are small, some are bigger. And when I think of it practically, I will give you number 1 this, number 2 this, number 3 this. But if I strip away the unnecessary layers, it is actually just one fear of my emotions, of how I will feel. How will it land on my system, the feelings. So if I can courageously allow that fear, the emotions that I'm afraid to allow, once I allow that, then I become like this super person, like this, really like a Superman or Superwoman, because now you can face whatever the hell comes. And what if we make a practice out of it? Like, this is the whole direction I want to take my business to. Like, if I could help people, my language is music, someone else can do it through cooking or dancing or sports.
Podcasting.
Yeah, podcasting, exactly. If whatever the tool, what if we can help people practice the emotions that they are afraid to feel, practice going into it, and then realizing that there's not so much to be scared about anyway. It's like when you're scared to get into the water, and then when you learn to swim, you feel, oh, this is so fun, water is great. But you didn't feel like that when somebody threw you in the water, right? So what if we practice it? What if we mentally rehearse the emotions we are scared to face, and then simulate it to a point where we just become so courageous? Then when the thing actually happens, you will still feel it, but you're not afraid of the feelings anymore.
And this is where you are working towards too. And
so I'm calling it mental fitness. I mean, lots of people call it mental fitness, but my angle for mental fitness is use these musical journeys to train your mind just like you train your body. You train your body to face heavier weights, right? So the same thing applies to the emotional weights. How about we train that?
I agree fully, and I'm sure that Irene, if you're listening to this episode, and you for sure will, I know you, this is exactly also where she's aiming for mental fitness and really believing in that we can cultivate.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. So you two should.
I saw, I read a little bit about it on LinkedIn after watching your podcast. And this is why I was telling you, like, when you post these little videos about your podcast on LinkedIn, it helps people connect to the real, full podcast.
To the full podcast. No, but mental fitness, there you have some commonality.
Absolutely. It's different from mental health, because mental health is when it's static. Yeah. You are having a good mental health or a bad mental health. But mental fitness is the act of doing something about it.
Active doing and cultivating and...
doing something about it instead of complaining.
Yeah, beautiful. The big vision, big dream you have because I can imagine you are so intrinsic motivated and so driven, and so there's so much energy in you to bring it to the world. What is your big dream with your beautiful company and the aim of the company?
Yeah, this I will say it like this. For me, the spiritual and the material meet in one place in my heart. For me, there's zero conflict between money and fame and spiritual growth. And why I say this is to answer your question on the big dream. I want to be on the biggest of stages, biggest of, let's say, the highest visibility possible for my work. Why? Because when I have that kind of fame and power and influence over society, then I can use that fame, power and influence to do something good, to remind people. So the real dream, the spiritual dream or my heart's dream is that when I die, I want to feel like I have made people remember their own power. I have been a reminder, a constant reminder of how much powerful each person is. The tool may be music or all of that, but that's the goal. Now, to make that happen for my company, it needs to be seen by everyone. And I'm shamelessly asking all our listeners, please do check it out. Please help me spread my message. Blah, blah. And I will do the same for you. If you're doing something empowering, I will do everything I can to support you. We've got to support each other, because I feel the good forces in the universe, the good forces on the planet need to get louder, and we need to stop feeling like, I'm nice, I don't need the fame. Oh, I'm nice, I don't need the money. I think this is how the wrong forces are getting more power and influence over society. And I think if good people with a good vision can come together, build great things, which are also financially supremely great, then we start changing, the dynamics of the world. And people will realize that good people become successful, and kind people become successful. You don't have to be a jerk to be successful. These are all parts of my dream. So on a more concrete note, to make mental fitness with music a very, very mainstream thing, where companies or, let's say, educational institute, organizations, companies, whatever, in the middle of your work, imagine taking a 5-minute mental fitness exercise with music and your body. And that changes the way you run your meetings, changes the way your brain works, the creativity level of your team, or how synergetic your team is. Imagine being able to do that in just 5 minutes and creating that as a culture, so people practice mental fitness instead of one fine day reporting, oh, I'm in burnout, To let them perform at their best, emotionally integrated beings, not trying to leave their emotions at home while coming to work. Emotionally integrated, passionate, creative people. If we can help them build this through my work, that will make me very, very happy. Yeah. Beautiful.
And it brings me to the last 2 questions for this episode. The one question is a very personal question. And of course, you are allowed from us to let's think about it. But my big, humble, audacious goal, I love to say big, humble instead of big, hairy, audacious goal. So my big, humble, audacious goal is to help 1 million Indian less fortunate girls create a self-sufficient, sustainable life, to empower them before 2040.
Super.
And the starting point is the St. Joseph home, where I was once given away as a baby in Mumbai.
Yes.
I met 50 beautiful girls between 6 and 16 who were taken off the street or out of child prostitution. Heavily damaged, of course, with a lot of, trauma. And they're in a strict program there. And for good health and well-being, the number 3. And the number 4, quality education. And that hit me hard as a father of 3 beautiful girls, but also, of course, as a human. It hit me hard. It planted a seed. And what I would love to discover with you is to share music in a much younger age.
Yes.
And that we can learn what you are learning now at the groups I saw, but also at a younger age, to make it a part of a curriculum at school.
Absolutely.
And how I would love to think about a way to, I'm going to Mumbai at least one time this year, to build trust and relationship, because that's the most important, fundamental part. Otherwise, I'm from outside sending money.
That's not empowering.
No, and I want to be involved directly, of course, due to my own personal background.
Yes.
And really would love to understand how can we fuse or fuel it at a much younger age in a natural way, that they can bring it along in their toolkit.
Yes, it's
for their disposal to use it whenever they need it, and it would be beautiful to think about how can we do it. So I would love to figure that out.
Absolutely lovely. Oh, this makes me so happy, because recently, I'll show you later, but recently I was working on this youth engagement program, and I'm so crazy about it. It's not leaving my mind, but I don't know exactly the right connections to make everything happen. I met some people interested, but it's called Journey to Future Self. And this is something I did with a bunch of business school kids in Geneva, and it was the first trial, and it was so good, because when I asked them what you want to be or who you are, they had no clear answers. And after this, it was a gamified version, gamification with music and mind, imagine. So you're playing real games with them, and without making it too serious or whatever, you're going into a route to deeper layers of themselves. But imagine, these are people who are privileged, they're studying in Switzerland, that's completely different. But when you do it with the kind of kids we are talking about here in Mumbai, they are, like I told you last time, like, they are way more resilient than we can even imagine.
They are.
They have way more power hidden in them, but it will all die if nobody nurtures it, So we've got to find a way. And yes, music is a tool that works emotion first. That's why less convincing is required and more experiencing happens. So we don't have to tell them, oh, now you have to think like this, or now you have to feel confident, or now you have to forget your poverty or whatever. You don't have to tell them anything. They'll feel it, It's like that. So Beautiful. We'll do it. We'll do something.
We will do something, right. Beautiful. And for now, we can talk for hours, right?
This is so beautiful.
I only have the feeling that we scratched the surface of where we can go through.
But I also love this cozy environment you've created. It does something to ground the conversation and ground us.
Thank you very much.
This.
It does. And especially looking... maybe that's maybe before we head to the end of our conversation, is we're looking at the Indian banyan tree, which for me became a certain symbol, an icon of me being in Mumbai for the first time after 49 years, and really the seeing the whole rootedness of the strong tree in the Indian soil, and but. It's called the Tree of Life. Why is that?
See, I'm not saying I'm the expert on the knowledge of Tree of Life, but for me, when I look at this picture and this banyan tree, first of all, like banyan tree in India is always considered like the most protective force, because see how big it is, and it gives shade to so many people.
And strong.
Yeah, and strong. So that is what we already know. And also its branches are very, spread out and all of that. Okay. But what stands out for me through my reflection of life is what happens underneath the soil. Because for a tree to be like this, you have to see the amount of work that has gone in underneath. That means the entire root system of the tree. In fact, that forms first. For any tree, the root system forms first before it can start growing up towards the light. So that means this is the part we can equate with the work we do in the darkness, behind everybody's, what people don't see, behind the curtains. And that, if that is strong, then this is the reason why the banyan tree will be so strong on top. And probably, we have to check the botanical science. I think the roots of this tree is the strongest, which is why it is the strongest. So, I just feel like if you want to bloom in life, you have to be like this, like focus on the root stuff. And I know we're in the age of visibility and social media, and I myself want to be visible, all of that. But that visibility means nothing if my roots are weak.
True that.
It's not going to work. No, so let's be like this tree of life. And in India we had a lot of spiritual connotations around trees and different kinds of trees, and trees remind us of that. You know, the root.
Yes, beautiful.
Powers
and the logo under it. Logo under it. You know where the this is inspired.
I wanted to ask you.
20 spokes of the Indian flag. So it is 24 spokes of the Indian flag, inspired by that. Deliberately put it in as an icon.
Yeah.
And so it all brings it together. Right?
And your journey, it's like a cycle. Now you're about to see the other side of the cycle, right?
But having you in the conversation, it really means a lot also on a personal level, not only because of your beautiful background and your determination and perseverance and what you're doing, but also originally from Calcutta, but lived in Mumbai, former Bollywood star, turned into an artist entrepreneur, and now sitting in Bussum, of all places, and having a conversation. And you know, it always feels special for me to see and meet somebody with the same genetic markers as myself. And I didn't grow up with that. For instance, 7 years ago, this would have felt very strange for me. And that's all on me and nothing about you. But it's like I was in the plane to Mumbai and with the KLM from Amsterdam to Mumbai. And with the whole plane with Indians in it. And they...
How did that hit you?
And now it was like, hey, they are all looking sort of the same as me, but I don't feel necessarily the same, you know? So that was really...
It's not easy,
interesting. No, and it is interesting, but it's been an honor to have you in our conversation.
Thank you.
And if there is let's say, one thought or one empowering message you would love to will share with the audience and about our conversation today, what would be that one empowering message you would love to give?
So I feel when we talk about today's conversation, the empowering lesson I am learning from, because there's lessons everywhere, right, is that true heartfelt connection, which allows authentic expression without editing. Like you said from the beginning, we're not going to edit. That's great. This is to be cherished. So if you come across a person that in some way connects to your heart and allows you to shine and hold space for you, it should mean the world, because that person, knowingly or unknowingly, is reminding you of all the things you like to remind of others, maybe, if you're an inspiring person or not. But this treasuring connections, true connections, heart connections, is super important. While we talk about mental fitness, all of those things are important, but also human-to-human connection. And like cherish these connections. So this is my way of saying I'm cherishing you and this.
Thank you very
and this
much.
Space you've created.
Thank you very much for joining Journeys of Empowerment. It's been an honor, and I hope it wouldn't be the last conversation in the podcast we will have. And we will share everything to find you in the show notes of this episode.
Absolutely.
And also there is something about a TED Talk. We love to share that one too. So
I did my TEDx talk in Brussels. It was It's called Mastering Your Mind with Music. See, this is what it is like. And that's
Mastering your mind with
music. Yeah, and that's the one where I spoke about the musical diet and love songs. And it was, I know it's a bit controversial because some people love those songs. Even I love those songs, but But anyway, that it was TEDx KU Leuven in Brussels.
Yes.
And it went really the way I wanted it to go, so that's good.
All right.
And it's helping me, when you do a TEDx or some talk like that, suddenly people think you're a little bit more important. Sadly, that's how it is. And I take it like this, that it's good. Like, this is what I was saying about being seen on bigger stages, because then it's not that you become more important, it's just that your message just reaches more people.
Yes.
And that's why we have to be comfortable with the light and the spotlight. It's okay. Let's take it so that we can use it to give back to society. Because we can't take the light when we die. We just, it's not for this drama on this earth. We come from the earth, we go back to the earth. In between, if the light we receive can help us shed the light on someone else and somewhere some good things, that's what we should do.
Thank you very much, Jeena Earthiva.
Yes, thank you. All right, we're coming to a beautiful close for this podcast episode, and I'm playing once more the soundtrack that we started with. And notice as you're listening to it, if you are reminded of all that we felt when we first heard it, the feelings. And now let's remind ourselves of who or what inspires and empowers us. When you have that in your mind, this time, let's ask ourselves one more question. What do we want to do with that inspiration? What kind of journey do we want to go on with that empowerment in our hearts? What idea do we want to bring to life on earth because of that inspiration? And as you hear this, imagine that you're actually physically taking steps in that direction. What would that look like? What would that feel like? And with that thought in your mind, and that feeling in your heart, slowly and gently come back to this present moment. As I fade out the music, keep those feelings alive in your heart.
Oh, and one more thing. Ever walked out of a workshop thinking, what was the point of that? That's exactly what No More Boring Workshops is here to change for good. Created by Dorrit Roest and Mieke Jansen of the Strategy Sprint Academy and Agency, it's not just another course. It's a powerful formula to bring clarity, energy and real outcomes back into the room. If you believe workshops should spark action, not just more talking, you want to check it out. All the info is at strategysprint.company/No More Boring Workshops, and you'll find also the link in the bio.